Yes.
Good afternoon.
afternoon.
Good morning. Can you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Seth Richardson, Richardson.
Okay. And how are you employed?
Currently employed by the Vermont State Police.
Okay. The acoustics in here are not great, so try to keep your voice up so they can hear you in the back. Currently employed by the Vermont State Police?
Yes.
Okay. And how long have you worked for the Vermont State Police?
13 years.
Were you employed by them in October of 2021?
Yes, I was.
And at some point, did you become involved in an investigation related to Emily Frazo?
Yes.
When did you become involved?
It was on the morning of the 19th.
And in what capacity did you become involved?
So I'm a detective sergeant assigned to the major crime unit. My commanding officer had contacted me and asked me to respond.
Okay. When the major crimes unit is needed, are all of the members of the major crimes unit sort of brought in?
Generally, yes.
Okay. And so where did you travel from?
My residence in Rutland, Vermont.
Okay. Upon arrival at the St. Albans Barracks, what tasks were you given related to this investigation?
So I was paired with Detective Sergeant Sam Truex, who is since retired. We were asked to go to the Lang's residence, inquire if Jason Lang would participate in the interview, and if so, during that interview, if we could obtain consent to search his property.
Okay. And did you search the property?
Yes.
Did you locate Emily on the property?
No.
And did you return to the barracks?
Yes.
After that? And so what tasks were you next given related to the investigation?
So shortly after I returned to the barracks, I had learned that Joseph had come to the barracks, or was brought to the barracks, and that would be assisting Detective Sergeant James Voris with interviewing Joseph.
Okay. What information did you have about the case prior to going into the interview?
Really not much. That it was a missing person complaint. It was somewhat suspicious, and at that point I don't remember if the RV was seized or was in the process of being seized.
Okay. What was your role during the interview?
Just a co-interviewer, I guess a second interviewer in the room.
Okay. So the jury has seen the video. Is it you in the room with Detective Sergeant Voris?
Yes.
Okay. And were you present when Detective Sergeant Voris read Mr. Ferlazzo his Miranda rights?
Yes, I was.
Miranda warnings. And so did you witness him waive those rights?
Yes, I did.
Did he have any questions or concerns about those warnings?
No.
Did he make any statements about wanting to talk to you?
Joseph was eager to talk to us. Joseph said he was there to talk to us. He told James that essentially didn't need to beat around the bush.
Okay. And did you, we've heard obviously the whole interview, so did you have concerns initially in speaking with Mr. Ferlazzo about his ability to speak with you?
No.
Okay. Was there ever a time in the times that he was spoken to where it wasn't recorded?
No.
Did you ever feel like he wasn't responding to the questions appropriately?
No.
Did he ever say anything that gave you the impression he didn't want to engage with you?
No.
Did you ask Mr. Ferlazzo if he was willing to provide a buccal swab of his DNA?
Yes, I did.
And did he agree to that?
Yes, he did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 128. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell the jury what it is?
This is a Vermont State Police consent to search form. The form, here the biological is checked off with corresponding DNA and photos of Joseph Frazo. That's my signature as a witness, and that's Joseph's signature on the sign line.
Move to admit States 128.
Any objection, Ms. Johnson? 128 is admitted without objection.
This is showing States 128. Is this the form that you went over with Mr. Ferlazzo?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is that his signature down in the lower right-hand corner?
Yes.
Okay, and did he have any concerns about signing this form?
No.
After completing the initial interview, did you bring Mr. Ferlazzo outside for a cigarette break?
Yes, I did.
And was that interaction recorded?
Yes, James was recording the recording us.
Okay. And did you ask him any questions about Emily during that time?
No.
Okay. Have you listened to that recording in preparation for today's testimony?
I have.
Okay. The state has marked it as Exhibit 130. Judge, we would ask to admit it as evidence.
Objection.
Okay, 130 is admitted without objection.
Stay sleeping or would you like a cigarette? Seth is going to grab one. I know you asked for one a while back. We're just trying to get some things squared away here. Everything's okay for now. We're just, things take time, So, but you can grab the cigarettes, or if you want to sleep, you can let you sleep. All right, come on up. You actually falling asleep in there? Not really. It's about 8 o'clock. It is 8:15. That was we provide a cigarette to Joe, Detective Sergeant Richardson, and Detective Sergeant Lawrence.
Parts of that are difficult to hear. Can you give just a quick summary of sort of what was discussed?
Yeah, so essentially, Joe and I were having a conversation about when my workday started, when I was scheduled to be finish my shift, apologized to me. Joe was wearing a sweatshirt that I also have. We talked about that, the weather, and that's really it.
Okay. Your Honor, the state would seek to admit 131, which is the transcript of that conversation.
Any objection? It's 131 is admitted without objection.
So after this conversation, did he go back to the holding cell?
Yes.
And did you eventually approach him again for additional questions?
Yes.
The jury has heard that recording. It appears that you asked most of the questions during that interaction.
Yes.
What was the primary purpose of that later interview?
To try to discern where Emily's belongings were. I think there was a question about. I think there was a question about some shoes, glasses, cell phone. We were trying to figure out where that stuff was.
Okay. And he had stated to you that he believed they were in he'd thrown them out in a market basket, grocery bag?
Yes.
Is that right? And you said in the beginning, one of your first tasks was to go to the Langs to search that property, and you didn't locate Emily. Where was Emily ultimately located?
Inside the RV or van.
Okay, and was that on the Langs property?
At one point it was, yes.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Will you have some questions, Ms. Johnson?
I do, Your Honor.
Why don't we take them up at one? We'll take our lunch break. Again, please don't discuss the case with anyone. Don't try and find out any information about the case from any outside source. We'll see you at 1 o'clock to resume. See everyone at 1. Please be seated. Jury is all present now after lunch. I'll ask the questions I always ask. Did anybody learn anything new about this case or anything about this case while at lunch? Seeing all shakes of the head no. With that, we'll resume the testimony of Detective Richardson, who is still under oath. And I think we're on cross, Ms. Johnson.
We are. Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Detective Richardson.
Good afternoon.
I believe before lunch, when Ms. George was questioning you, she had asked you if you had recently reviewed or viewed the interview video.
Yes,
And you said yes, correct?
yes.
Okay, just making sure. So,
Ma'am, I reviewed the video that she was referencing, not the entire, okay.
that's fine. I understand. Thank you. Do you recall at the beginning of the interview, Mr. Ferlazzo saying, "I haven't really eaten much and I've been up for days"?
Yes, I do.
And then he followed that up by saying, "My mind isn't right." Do you recall that?
I remember something to that effect, yes.
Okay. And did you or Detective Vorris didn't inquire further as to what he meant by that, did you?
No,
You had no concerns at that point that he might not be able to provide an accurate account of what happened because he was saying at the outset, "My mind isn't right." Is that correct?
yes,
That was a long question, sorry. And at various points during the interview, Mr. Ferlazzo stated that he was really tired, correct?
I don't know how many times he stated it, but
Okay.
yeah, I know that he stated at least once that he was tired.
Fine, thank you. Do you recall about an hour into the interview, roughly, Mr. Ferlazzo said, "I'm just really tired. I don't know what day it is now. I'm not able to have a clear thought." Do you recall that?
Not specifically, no, I don't.
Okay. Would it help if I showed you the transcript to refresh your recollection?
Sure, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to show you, oh, I haven't marked it, sorry.
They have, it's defendants A.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit A, and I'm going to give you the page and the lines where that particular section is located. All right. So- I'm going to show you, this is a transcript of the entire first segment of the interview, and this is page 32, and it's lines 11 through 13, and yeah, that's, take a look at that.
Could you repeat your question?
I just asked if you recall him saying that at that point in the interview. So-
Right, can you reference what he said, what you're asking me?
Sure, sorry about that. So I asked you if you recall, about an hour into the interview, Mr. Ferlazzo saying, "I'm just really tired." I believe you also referenced something about falling into a hole, and I don't know what day it excuse me, it is now. I'm not able to have a clear thought.
Yes.
Thank you. And again, looks like there was no concern about resuming the interview, no concern that he wasn't able to provide accurate information. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you recall, Joseph, at one point, Mr. Ferlazzo was being asked to provide more details about what happened on Friday and early Saturday, and he said, "All I can remember is like a jumble. It was basically like flashes, like if you go to a disco and look up and there's nothing."
Yes, I do.
Again, type of jumble and flashes did not concern you as far as the way he was thinking?
Excuse me, it didn't, because before and after, he gave other accounts of the way he was feeling and felt at the time, which made sense to me.
Okay, thank you. About an hour and 10 minutes into the interview, do you recall Mr. Ferlazzo suddenly putting his head down and suddenly asking for water?
I don't.
Okay. At that point, you don't recall that you and Detective Boris, when he put his head down and asked for water, both of you did in fact say, okay, we'll get you some water, and then you left.
I don't remember that, no.
All right. And Detective Truex came in, so I'm guessing on the video at that point, he was hyperventilating and crying. So you did not witness that, is that accurate?
No.
Okay. And then the questioning resumed roughly 15 minutes, roughly, after that. Correct? It resumed after you.
Yes, it resumed after, yes.
Thank you. You drafted a report detailing the actions that you took on the case between October 19th, 2021 and October 21st, 2021, correct?
Yes.
And in the report, you stated that the interview of Mr. Ferlazzo on the 19th of October 2021 occurred in multiple segments over several hours in various locations within and outside the barracks, correct?
Yes. Yep.
The first segment, I'll just reference it the way you did, that was the initial interview with some breaks, understandably, but the initial interview, which took approximately 2.5 hours, is that accurate?
Yeah.
Let's see, and I think at that point, it looks like, so the interview ended at that point, that segment, at about 5 o'clock. Is that correct?
I mean, I can't confirm that. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, that sounds accurate.
At that point, I think you and Detective Boris left and Mr. Ferlazzo laid down on the floor. Do you recall that?
Yes, I remember him laying down.
Okay. And although we can't tell, it's assumed that he was probably sleeping, but he was laying down on the floor whether he was sleeping or not, correct?
Yes, he was laying down on the floor.
Okay. And then at about 6 or 10 minutes of 6, after he'd been laying on the floor, he was moved to a holding cell, correct?
Yes.
And then the next interaction with Mr. Ferlazzo was approximately 8:10, and I think you and Detective Boris woke him up to see if he was okay, and then at that point, it took him outside the barracks for a cigarette, correct?
Yes.
And then we brought him back into the holding cell around 8:15 and he laid back down, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at about 9:18, you and Detective Boris woke him up again, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm confirming that we did wake him up. I can't verify the times, but yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm referring to times if you would like. Yeah, we can always look at it, but, and then you did have at that point, you wanted to ask him a few more things and asked him if he was willing to answer more questions,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. He was groggy at that point, correct?
No, I wouldn't say groggy.
Okay. As alert as he was previously, or?
Yeah, I would say so.
And you told him again that you had some additional questions. I believe you also gave him the option of going back to the interview room or remaining in the holding cell, correct?
James asked him,
Okay.
gave him the choice.
It's
yeah.
hard. It was hard to tell since that was audio. All right, thank you. And do you recall Joseph responding by stating, "I'm just trying to let my mind rest"?
Yes.
Okay. But at that point, you resumed the question, questioning, correct?
Yeah.
And I believe that lasted about another 20 minutes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions, thank you.
No redirect, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set.
Right hand, please. Solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalties of perjury. Thank you.
Good afternoon.